Longevity as a one-liner is maintain muscle mass at all costs. The only way that's going to happen is if you move your body, but you also consume enough protein.
Since I upped my protein intake, it's had downstream effects onto everything. It's
Yeah,
not just like how I'm lifting at the gym, it's my hair, it's my skin, it's my
energy.
energy levels.
Sleep hygiene is the most important thing you could possibly focus on. Most people are woefully dehydrated.
If you want to live a long and healthy life, then you kind of have to do the work right now. Actually, so since we're talking about water, can you explain why quality of water is important?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's kind of like, why is the quality of food important that you
Mhm.
eat? So what most people don't understand is all water is not created equal.
Yeah.
And you know, I definitely in LA wouldn't drink anything that comes out of the faucet. There's just
No,
too
it's
many
gross.
too many impurities,
Yeah.
especially post fires. It's gonna be a tough one. But when you're talking hydration, what people don't recognize is the body's basically looking at a couple different things. Fluid, meaning water, is one of them. And then the other is minerals, electrolytes, things like that. So if you're just drinking filtered water, Brita, Dasani, whatever, what basically happens is, for lack of a better term, you're diluting your bloodstream, and the kidneys sense that very quickly, and then they are going to essentially try to rebalance fluid, non-fluid parts in your bloodstream, and so you end up drinking the water, and it gets basically excreted relatively quickly. You look at your urine, you're like, "Oh, great, it's clear, I'm super hydrated." And it's a little bit misleading. So, when we're talking like high quality water,
Mhm.
first and foremost, it has to have some sort of minerals in it.
Mhm.
You want to do Arrowhead, Mountain Valley, Erewhon, Poland Spring, doesn't really matter. Like naturally sourced water retains the minerals of the earth. If that's not a possibility, it's not hard to get minerals into your fluid. A pinch of sea salt, a squeeze of lemon, a squeeze of lime. But anything that you can do to add some sort of electrolytes or minerals to the water gives you a better opportunity that whatever you're consuming from a hydration standpoint is actually going to stay in your system for a longer period of time. If you've ever had an IV, that bag is not just water. It's sodium, potassium, chloride. There's a bunch of different things in there. If you've ever tried to drink that, which I have, like it
Mhm.
doesn't taste good,
Mhm.
but it's effective. And so, when you're thinking about high quality water sources, you know, purely filtered water has a place, but at a certain time, it's almost like eating food that has all the vitamins taken out of it. Does it have some energy and purpose? Yes. But is it actually going to be the best thing for you long term? And the answer is no. So I am a huge mineral water advocate.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely influenced
I
us.
influence you. I influence you in a lot.
You really did, Ryan. Credit where credit is due. You
Thank you.
also pushed me to start taking creatine, and then
Sure
we
did.
created tone. So,
Sure did.
credit where credit is due,
Well,
honestly.
that would be equity, but it's all good.
So, how did you get into health and wellness?
That's a great question. Growing up, I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago. Idyllic childhood, 0 complaints. Great parents, and an incredible place to grow up. It's one of those spots where I don't even know if it exists anymore. Your parents didn't really know where you were, they just knew you were gonna be home for dinner,
Yeah.
doors are open, like, no one's doing anything. And it was great, but my parents were very, uh, emphatic on developing responsibility and work ethic as
Mhm.
as a young kid. So when I turned 13, my dad's like, "You gotta stop playing one of your sports, you have to get a job." So I ended up caddying because it was pretty much the only place a 13-year-old could work. But what that turned into was 10 summers, thousands of rounds and golf bags carried. But what it really was 4.5 hours of conversation. So basically, I had to learn how to converse with people that were 20, 30, 40 years older than me
Mhm.
and talk about something. And for me, part of that was like, I learned about, what did you do? Like, what do you do when you grew up? And
Mhm.
I had the opportunity to work with thousands of different people. And the only thing that ever piqued my interest was medicine, like where I could say, hey, I can take someone in their worst moment and bring them to their best moment.
Mhm.
So from there, I took every internship, summer internship, opportunity to, you know, shadow, do pre med, whatever. And I really found that being able to help people move was something that I was passionate about. Not only because I was an athlete and active myself, but seeing a patient who's just like, I used to be so vibrant and X, Y, or Z, and because an injury, led them to be sedentary, their entire quality of life dissipated. And so that was really powerful for me. So from there, go the traditional route. You have to go to med school, you have to do residency and whatnot. And once I got into that world, I realized like medicine is not as altruistic as it seems on the outside. And it's not because physicians are money hungry. It's because the system. It's not led by physicians. It's led by businesses. And at the
Mhm.
end of the day, it's profit. Like they have to be profitable. So once I got into residency and fellowship, I realized like my impact was not going to be confined to a hospital system. I had to find a different way to connect to hopefully impact lives, and that's how I came up with this idea for Monarch, which was essentially a space and an ecosystem that I knew would be effective because at the end of the day, movement, sleep, hydration, nutrition, connection with others, and purpose, the total addressable market on that is 8 billion people. That matters
Mhm.
to everybody.
Mhm.
And we haven't done it yet. We've done pieces of it and they've existed in isolation. And in my brain, I was like, all right, well, it seems like the next step is to integrate them into one space. And that should be pretty impactful for a lot of people. So, you know, 6 years ago, I guess. Yeah, 6 years ago, we started our West Hollywood Club. I kind of took my idea and combined it with my business partners and their idea for creating an elevated health and wellness space, and
Mhm.
the rest is history. And now we're 2 clubs in, about to open our 3rd next month in Playa Vista, and we've got 3 more in the pipeline after that with, no ceiling in terms of where we're gonna go.
I mean, I think it's really cool. Like, I remember when I first came in, it was with Vanessa,
Yeah,
and she was talking to me about it when she came over for dinner one day, and I was like, "What gym is this? Like,
yeah,
what are you talking about? Like, they have everything in one place. Like, that's like the dream." And I feel like right, I went with her to one of her, sessions,
mm,
and immediately I was like, I gotta sign up," and then Nish did the tour, and it was like, as soon as you guys had
mm,
an opening, we were members.
yeah,
So,
amazing.
it's like it's incredible because that having everyone kind of talk,
Yeah,
all the people that are responsible for or play a part in your health all have dialogue with each other is
correct.
absolutely a game changer.
Yeah, and it seems like the simplest thing we could be doing,
Uh-huh,
but we just haven't done it. And, when I reflect and, try to help people understand, like, why are we doing what we're doing?
uh-huh.
At the end of the day, if you think about your body, it is a completely integrated system. There are certain things that play certain parts, but nothing is acting on its own. Everything's a well coordinated, hopefully well coordinated machine. And, just as an individual who was like, okay, I want to do recovery stuff, which means I have to have a membership there, and then I want to do my training stuff, which means I have to. I'm like,
No, it's too much.
too many things. And oddly enough, this idea came to me when I was at Mayo Clinic, and I had nothing to do. It was miserable. Like it was probably the lowest point of my life thus far. Not because of Mayo, but just I was like,
Mhm.
I can't believe this is where I'm at. I went to Mall of America and I just sat around and I go, oh my God, I get it. Like people just want to be able to park their car and they're just like, it's all here.
Yeah.
And then you're like Costco, Amazon, like it's in everything.
Mhm.
So yeah, it seemed like the next iteration of health. And um, you know, I think we're in the very early stages of what people are talking about in terms of like medicine 3.0. Like creatine is not new, but we're finally recognizing its value and importance. So it's having its moment, and that's never going to go away. So I'm hopeful as time progresses, we will recognize like I'm in my late 30s, you're in your late 30s,
I'm
mid
in
to
my
late
early 30s.
early 30s, mid to late
Ryan,
30s.
come on.
Yeah,
Don't age me.
yeah.
We're not the same.
No, we're not. Clearly, people that are watching this, I let my beard grow out just so I could show my seasoning. We're probably going to live with the technology that we have for at least 50, 60, 70 years.
Yeah.
Like getting to 100, I don't think is going to be remarkable. The question is what kind of quality of life are you going to have? Because if things follow the traditional course, late 50s, early 60s, like typically things start to decline. Like I don't know if I would want to live 30, 40, 50 years in a poor state of health.
No.
And also the cost associated with that is pretty astronomical. So, we're very motivated to say, "Hey, this is the health system that we should adopt moving forward," not because it's complex and it's integrating crazy technologies, but because it's simple, it's effective, and it can be executed every single day for the rest of your life. You've been there for a couple years now. Like, we're not doing anything complicated. We'll use technology if and when it's valuable. But the reason you've done so well is because you show up 5 days a week. And that, I think, is an overlooked aspect of this whole health movement, which is we are assuming that everyone's like you and like me, where we're reading the papers and we're
Mhm.
integrating all the technology. I'm telling you, coming from Chicago and you probably from Toronto, like getting someone to go to the gym 2 to 3 times a week,
It's true.
that is a huge accomplishment. So it's not, more Whoop, more data, more, wearable integrations. Like, we need to figure out how to get people to just like take simple steps every single day. And, that's why we're working on integrating our own operating systems and thinking about like what would it look like if we have our own insurance product so that
Mhm.
you get rewarded for showing up 5 days a week versus
Mhm.
our traditional system, which there's absolutely no compensation for good behavior. So we've got a lot of things that we get to do over the next, you know, however long we do
Yeah,
this.
it's so cool. So, what are the basics, would you say, that
Sure.
people need to master in order to continue to, I guess, like, prolong their health span? Because I'm with you. Like, I don't want to live 30 years of my life feeling unhealthy. Like, that's why I'm so motivated to come to the gym every day
Totally.
and do all the things with nutrition and take all the supplements and all of the things.
Yeah. So, in order, sleep is always going to be number one. Um, I had multiple conversations earlier today with patients. Like, sleep hygiene is the most important thing you could possibly focus on. The tough part is our lifestyles are not designed to have high quality sleep. During the week, we have one system. During the weekends, we have a different operating system. It's very problematic for our body and our natural circadian rhythm. So, I'll tell anyone, like, if you can set a similar bedtime and a similar wake time, and if for whatever reason you go to bed later, just still try to wake up at the same time and do that 7 days a week in perpetuity, you're way ahead of most people. So sleep is and will continue to be number one. Hydration is number two. Most people are woefully dehydrated.
Uh-huh.
That's a physiologic stress. Current recommendation is half your body weight in ounces of fluid per day minimum.
Mhm.
So for me, I'm 225 pounds. Like, I need to be drinking 3 to 4 liters a day.
What is
If
that? It's like 3 to 4 of these?
yeah, this is a liter.
Yeah.
Yeah, so at least 4 of these a day. The compounded effects of being dehydrated are pretty significant in terms of weight retention, inflammation, skin issues, cognitive dysfunction. Like, being low grade dehydrated over a long period of time basically will accelerate the aging process. It's a physiologic stress.
Okay, so would is it possible to be drinking just filtered water and be dehydrated?
Technically, yes. So you can drink 3 to 4 liters of water per day, but in terms of like actual hydration physiologically,
Uh-huh.
yes, you could theoretically be dehydrated.
That's so interesting, and I say this because, I have found that since I switched over to, like, proper mineralized, like,
Yeah.
Ryan standard water, um, I feel like I'm more hydrated, and I'm always someone who's had, like, 2 to 3 liters of water a day. Like, I'm just someone who's perpetually drinking water, but I feel more hydrated, and I
Yeah.
don't need to I don't need to add electrolytes into my water if I don't want to, you know what I mean?
No, because you're getting an appropriate amount in the mineral water.
Correct.
Um, Again, like, if in a perfect world, like,
Uh-huh.
we would be able to hook ourselves up to IVs and just get a half liter or a liter in 5 to 10 minutes, and
Mhm.
that would be great, but it's not going to happen. So yes, most people are drinking no one's going to die of thirst in this country
Yeah.
unless you choose to. But the compounded effects of being dehydrated, you know, loss of vertebral disc height. Like, how do people shrink as you get older? Like, well, you're just dehydrated and your spinal column compresses. That impacts spinal nerves. So now people have more back pain and neck pain and all these things when working in concert. And obviously, this is just a hydration standpoint. Like, if all of a sudden, like, everything hurts when you move and you're losing, mobility and flexibility and your energy levels are low, like, what's the end result of that? You're going to sit
Mhm.
because that's the least painful thing that's going to happen. And
Mhm.
being sedentary is the absolute worst thing that you could possibly do. So, hydration plays its part. Most people that are not getting good sleep are also probably engaging in behaviors that are leading them to be dehydrated, whether that's alcohol or whatever.
So
Uh,
wait, I also wanna go back and get, like, details on sleep hygiene. Like,
sure,
what paint me a very, like
good picture.
yes,
Yeah,
great
so
picture
the bedtime and the wake up time,
is the most important.
yes, but like people assume, well, if you stay up till midnight, like you're doing something wrong. There's tons of data to show your biologic rhythms and mine may be different. There's absolutely people that function better early, some people that function better late. It actually shifts throughout your life. Like I started high school at 7 a.m.
Mhm,
That's insane. Like kids in adolescence need more sleep and our rhythms tend to shift up later, and then waking up later.
mhm,
So like even the education system, that's a conversation for a different pod. But um what's most important is whatever your bedtime is, that's your bedtime. Whatever your wake up time is, like that's your wake up time.
mhm,
So if it's midnight to 8 a.m., God bless. Like even like the whole 8 hour thought is not inaccurate, but like if you're normally going to bed at 10 and then on the weekends you go to bed at 3 a.m., like that is going to shift your biologic rhythm. So if you can standardize that across the week, extremely helpful. The other part is we need natural light when we get up. That helps to start activate physiologic processes
mhm,
that tell our body like, okay, it's time to go. And that's part of the reason why looking at phones late at night when you're sitting in bed disrupt these natural processes that are trying to wind us down. So there's a physician named Michael Bruce who's a good
yes.
friend. He's a sleep physician
He's
and like
he's come on my
yeah,
podcast.
he's amazing.
Yeah.
Um, Melatonin phase curve, like, literally, we're supposed to get sunlight when we get up because our body's like, "Okay, let's start producing melatonin, so when the sun goes down, we can transition into sleep." But we can be in rooms like this all day, and our body has no idea what's going on. So,
Mhm,
if you can set those standard times, bedtime, wake time, getting sun right when you wake up, physiologically, you will function so much better.
mhm,
And if you look at the animal world, like, you know, the animals aren't staying up later on the weekends. Like things are pretty consistent.
yeah,
So, biologically and physiologically, we're not designed any different than that. Um, the other part is temperature and eating. So, like, too many people eat too late in
mhm,
the day. You need at least 2 to 3 hours to digest before you go to bed. If you don't, the process of digesting actually increases your body temperature.
mhm,
As you sleep, your body temperature actually is designed to go down. So you have these two processes trying to work against one another. And what that's going to lead to is less effective, less restorative rest. The whole world of eight sleep and all these temperature cooling mattresses is basically trying to counteract the fact that like most of us work and sprint all the way till we're ready to pass out.
mhm,
And we don't have enough time to allow our body to kind of like slow itself down, whether that's digestion or just relaxation from the day. So
mhm,
temperature is an incredibly important one and also not eating too late. Those are the things that I see most common with patients is
mhm.
like, they eat far too late. They have no regular bedtime or wake time. And they don't give themselves time to kind of like wind down because most of us are doing this all day. It's go, 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 go. Like you got to give yourself time
Yeah.
to reset.
Okay, so we have the water, we have the, sleep and
Yeah.
sleep hygiene. What else are the things that people should focus on?
Protein intake.
Okay.
Most people aren't getting enough protein and we are learning more and more. And the numbers that look like is necessary are getting higher and higher. So baseline, roughly 1 gram of protein per kilo body weight.
Uh-huh.
So that's a pretty easy one for people to, figure out how much do I weigh in kilos, and that's how much protein. Now it's looking like we may need to do 1.5 grams of protein per kilo body weight. So when I'm working with people on a nutrition program, you know, we live in places where with the click of a button, you can get 100 different types of cuisine. So
Mhm.
we really try to get people to focus on like, all right, if counting calories or portions or whatever is going to be difficult for you, which for a lot of people it is, let's at least focus on one thing, which is protein intake. Because if you can maintain muscle mass, you are doing yourself so many favors, especially as you age. Like longevity as a one liner is maintain muscle mass at all costs, dead stop. The only way that's going to happen is if you move your body, but also consume enough protein to help maintain that lean muscle mass. So when we talk nutrition, like we usually first and foremost are like, let's figure out how we can get enough protein in because most people are probably doing 50 to 60% of the appropriate amount of protein they should be consuming.
I also feel like since I upped my protein intake, it's had kind of downstream effects onto everything. It's
Yeah.
not just like how I'm lifting at the gym, it's my hair, it's my skin, it's my
Energy,
energy levels. Like
midday
it's
fatigue
yeah, like I
disappears.
don't have that anymore.
Yeah,
Like I don't have this like 3 p.m. slump anymore
totally.
because I'm eating and it sounds like kind of simple,
Yeah,
but it's such it has such a big impact.
correct.
So, I completely agree, like, I feel like I've been screaming the protein thing for years now.
Yeah, and again, like, I think we've just it's media, right? Like, protein bro culture, it's you know, what you guys are doing with Array and Tone is recognizing that half the population is female,
Yeah,
and they're not going to resonate with tubs of protein and, you
no,
know, the GNC. So, like, how do we get people, one, to understand that male, female, like, these protein recommendations are
universal,
ubiquitous and
yeah.
universal, but also, like, how are you going to appeal to that subset of the population that inherently is tuning out this other stuff because of the personalities that we've created in that space? And I think that's where we can do a lot of work.
Yeah, 100%. So talk to me about exercise then. Like,
Yes.
how often should someone be, weight training? Do you think weight training is something that's, like, universally
Yes.
beneficial? Okay, let's talk about that.
Yeah. So I obviously have a health and wellness facility. That being said, I am a walking class pass. I will do any group fitness that you can toss out in front of me, and I'm unabashed. One, because I love learning about how other people operate, but also, like, there's a lot of really cool concepts out there.
Totally.
Bare minimum, everyone should be trying to achieve 150 minutes of moderate to high intensity activity per week.
Mhm.
Moderate to high intensity activity is different for everyone. It's different for you and me, and that's totally fine. But it doesn't change the number. That's the minimum recommendation. 80% of our population does not achieve 150 minutes of moderate to high intensity. Walking 10,000 steps is nice. It's not moderate to high intensity unless, like, you're scaling a slope. Take that to step 2, you should be lifting weights, some sort of resistance training at least 2 to 3 times a week. And, you know, resistance training, some people assume, like, I've ridden podium at Soul Cycle 11 times. Between you and I'm a Soul Cycle legend. Um, but, like, 3-pound weights is not resistance training. Resistance training is 8 to 12 repetitions. If, you know, you're exhausted by the end, like, that's a reasonable amount of load, and you're not gonna get that in a lot of these classes. You know, Pilates is great, but, like, you're not lifting 30, 40, 50-pound weights. So, like, those things have their moments, but overall, 150 minutes of moderate to high intensity per week and at least 2 to 3 days of, you know, some sort of appropriate resistance training. That's the bare minimum, and we're batting 20% success there. So, like, we have a long way to go in terms of the movement. And again, like, moderate to high intensity for, you know, to say it roughly is like if you are doing something and you're moderately breathless, you are not able to have this free flowing conversation. That's considered moderate intensity. That's like zone 2, zone 3. So everyone is going to be different, and that's fine. But right now, we're not even hitting that minimum threshold, and that's a huge problem. 100 years ago, like, we did manual labor all day. It wasn't an issue. It is a huge issue now because most people are sitting. So when we talk exercise, like, that should be the lowest barrier to entry, and we're still not even nowhere near 50% in terms of adoption and success rate. So, like, it is a huge problem. Loss of muscle mass, lack of resistance training for whatever reason. People don't want to become bulky, like all these myths that are circulating. I can promise you when you're in your, you know, second half of your life, if you're not able to push yourself up, pull yourself up, put your bag in an overhead compartment because you've slowly been losing strength, your quality of life is going to be significantly compromised. And I think that's the tough part right now is, like, everyone in this space who's talking, like us, even us having this conversation, like, it's easy for us to say what we're saying because we can do it and we live it. It's hard for people to figure out, like, all right, well, I'll deal with this down the road.
Mhm.
Down the road, like, you're not coming back from that.
That's the
It's too
thing.
late.
Exactly. I think doing something when you're having to correct an issue is so much more grueling, complex, and you don't even know what results it's going to yield,
May not even be
right?
possible.
Exactly. It may be you may be at a point where it's just too late. And so that's the thing. Like, you know that quote, I think it's Mark Hyman, it's like pay the farmer the pharmacy. And
Yeah,
it really is true, right?
100%.
Where it's like you kind of have to, if you want to live a long and healthy life, then you kind of have to do the work right now.
1,000%.
You know, it's the same as like, okay, if you want to be successful, you can't be sitting on your ass all day and like expecting to come into, unless you win the lottery, and if so, good for
100%.
you.
I was literally just gonna say, like, maybe you win the lottery,
Yeah,
but
it's unlikely.
that's not the average.
Yeah, and so I think, yeah, like the movement, I would say it's accessible to everyone,
Correct.
and I also don't believe that if someone is sitting here and they're listening to this and they're like, "Oh, I don't have the financial means to join a fancy gym." You
False.
can do it at home, like,
$100%.
there's ways you can go about doing it on your own.
100%. I mean, when we're talking about, like, this Monarch operating system that I've been ruminating on for ages, which is becoming closer and closer to a reality, the question always comes up is like, "Well, it's easy for you to say because you charge $1,500 a month in Los Angeles." Fine. And yet, we have every wearable. There's over 700 FDA-approved wearables. We can collect data from pretty much anyone, anywhere. We're already doing it. So to your point, even if you're in a lower socioeconomic bracket, you can still go to a YMCA. You can still go to some sort of community center. I live in Santa Monica. You can walk on the Santa Monica stairs. It is free and it's available 24 hours a day.
Mm,
So yes, we make way too many excuses. And ultimately, like, it doesn't need to be a high intensity interval training class. Like, you just have to get your heart rate up 150 minutes per week. Like, that's a great place to start. And I guarantee no matter where you are in this country, like, there's places that you can do it. When I was a resident, like, working 24 hours a day at Dartmouth, there was a sign on every stairwell that says free exercise, enter here. And like, I was one of those guys which are like, all right, I'm going to be here for 24 hours. I'm going to skip stairs or,
mhm.
whatever. Like, if I have 10 minutes. And yes, like, I understand that I'm more motivated, but my point is like, we institute these, you know, like, to be honest, like, they're just hypothetical, not realistic barriers
Mm.
because it almost makes us feel good that, like, oh, that's why I can't
Yeah,
do it.
like, oh, like, I
It's
mean,
like
it's a
now,
cop out.
yeah, and everyone has a diagnosis. This is
Yeah.
why stop. Like, these things, sleep, hydration, movement, like, achievable.
Also, this myth that I can't believe it, but still women think that, "Oh, I'm gonna get bulky if I lift weights," and I was just thinking about it as we're talking about it. There's so many female members at Monarch. I have not seen one who looks bulky, and
Yeah,
these girls are freaking
they're
strong.
strong,
Like, we are lifting
heavy.
real weights in there.
Yeah,
You know, and everyone looks incredible. They're incredibly agile, very healthy, and
totally.
I mean, I've never once in my life with my own 2 eyes
Yeah,
seen a woman get bulky from lifting weights.
yeah. If I had a dollar for every time a female patient's like, "My legs gain muscle very quickly," I
Uh-huh.
wouldn't have to work anymore. Like, I'm just like, "Okay, it's all good." Yeah, I mean, you you'd have to eat so much food and lift so intensely for a very long period of time to, like, become this image of what most women don't wanna be, like, very unlikely that it's going to happen. Um, and if unfortunately, like, that's an impediment for a lot of people, because of this very unlikely to be realized endpoint. And so then they just don't do it, and then they get to be 40, 50, 60, and they have osteoporosis, and, navigating menopause and perimenopause becomes a pretty significant challenge, and it doesn't have to be that way.
Mhm.
We have a member, um, she won't mind me naming her, like, she's been very open about, like, her fitness journey and, like,
Mhm.
navigating through life. Her name's Heidi D'Amelio,
Mhm.
like, the epitome of, like, mom, busy, kids, LA, like, they've built notoriety. Super consistent, there all the time. It's her saving grace. Like, she's navigating all of this craziness because she's just doing the simple things consistently.
Yeah.
And at a point in her life too, where, like, her body's changing and muscle mass matters. So, um, she's been pretty open with her channels about it, and I hope it resonates with people
Mhm.
because maybe all you need to see is it's possible, and that motivates you to make a change.
1,000%. Talk to me about peptides. What are your thoughts?
Yes, love them. So when people, I hear this literally all the time now. Should I be on peptides?
Can you explain what peptides even are to
Great.
someone who has no idea?
Yeah. So that's a good starting point. Peptides are naturally occurring compounds that have various different functions within the body, whether it's signaling or receptor activation, whatever. Insulin is a peptide. So, like, we've understood what peptides are for a long period of time. The shift has recently changed in terms of basically performance peptides,
Mm,
peptides that increase growth hormone or um, tissue repair utilizing naturally occurring copper, injury recovery. So we've discovered compounds that we can now synthesize and then reintroduce in the body for a specific purpose. But with the just with any medication or any intervention, like, you need to do it for the right reasons for the right periods of time, right?
mhm,
Like with exercise, you can do too much exercise, it can be detrimental. With peptides, the problem is right now there's only a couple that are FDA approved. Most of them are still experimental. And the other part is most people don't have appropriate guidance on like who should be using what for what period of time and what dose. And because they're still technically experimental, or at least most of them, you can find lab sites online where you can quote unquote buy peptides. Quality control, as you know, who knows? So unfortunately, like, we've got a lot of people looking to make profit, and they're compromising the integrity of a field that could be extremely beneficial. GLP ones, weight management, those are peptides.
mhm,
So, um, for us, at least with Monarch, like, when people are interested in peptide therapy, you know, I, first and foremost, everyone walks in, I want peptides. What should I have? I'm like, that's like saying, I want food. I'm like, what kind of food would you like?
yeah,
What are you in the mood for? So for us, like, we're doing a lot, especially because our population's, mid 30s and beyond, like growth hormone support. We know as you age, growth hormone levels decline. You can support natural production to help with sleep, with energy, with recovery, with lean muscle mass
mhm,
maintenance. We do a lot with that. BPC 157 and thymosin beta, they're two separate peptides. One increases blood flow to tissue, one increases basically immune system signaling. Great for tissue recovery, golfer's elbow, shoulder issues. Like, if you have a chronic injury that's not a legitimate anatomic deformation,
mhm,
BPC and thymosin are an interesting conversation to have if you have a physician who understands these things. Um, and then sexual health. So there's one called PT 141, which is
mhm,
super interesting. It's basically acting in your at the level of your central nervous system to increase arousal, and it was discovered basically as a peptide. I mean, this is what it does, but we discovered and we use it in practice because certain people with heart conditions can't use Viagra, can't use Cialis. PT 141 has no impact on blood flow. It's not going to compromise, blood pressure, cardiovascular health. What it does is it basically increases the arousal center and then, hopefully helps people have better levels of intimacy.
mhm.
So that's an interesting one too. That's been pretty effective in a lot of the patients that were using it. Um, so yeah, those are like the big areas of peptides. Is there's many that are just naturally occurring, and our body's already using them for glucose control, and then
Mhm.
there's this new world of like performance peptides.
What about NAD? Because that's a peptide also, no?
NAD is a cofactor in the electron transport chain. So it's a cofactor basically in the energy producing unit of the cell.
Mhm,
So the theory with NAD is as we age, our cells become a little bit less efficient.
mhm,
And part of that is energy production.
mhm,
So someone realized, okay, well, like NAD levels over time tend to decline physiologically. So what if we replenish NAD? Should we have more energy? Feel younger. And NAD injected intramuscularly or as an IV protocol for many people seems to improve energy, reduce inflammation. Some people say it's been effective in terms of like addiction and recovery because what seems to be happening is as these cells become exposed to more NAD,
Mhm.
the body has this process called autophagy where it's basically identifying cells that are no longer valuable and it's eliminating them for a purpose.
Mhm.
And so if you can get the necessary energy units into the body will take care of itself. It'll be like, all right, these cells are old. Let's get rid of these and bring in new ones. Huberman and Attia did a really long podcast about all, these different supplements. And I think people are assuming that, well, if I just do NAD or NMN or IVs, like capsules or
Mhm.
injectable, I'm going to live longer.
Mhm.
And the data has, for the most part, proven like it's probably not going to help you live. It's not going to extend your lifespan, but it may improve the quality of your lifespan. And if you have better energy and if you have less inflammation and less pain, like your quality of life will probably improve. The tough part is it's similar to like exercise and sleep and everything else we talked about. If you're not doing it consistently, it doesn't seem like it's going to be effective long term. And I think that's where I'm very uh, focused with my patients, which is like, should you try NAD IVs? Maybe. Can you adhere to the protocol, the loading dose, and then the subsequent, once a month? Can you afford it? Can you show up for 90 minutes and be moderately uncomfortable with an NAD IV? If not, then like let's not go down that path.
What about the shots?
Shots are great. Do you want to give yourself a shot 2 to 3 times a week?
Uh-huh.
Maybe I would, but a lot of people aren't. So like
Mhm.
they'll do it for a couple months and then they fall off. And I think
Mm.
that's again in this world of longevity and biohacking and whatnot, a lot of cool technology, but ultimately like most of these interventions are meant to be adhered to for long periods of time, and most people just don't
Yeah.
do that. So, there's transdermal patches, there's nasal sprays, there's shots, there's IVs, there's the, precursor capsules, True Niagen and other things. We're at the dawn of this longevity era. I feel strongly like let's come back to this 50 years from now. And if you
Mhm.
can find people that have done all these things consistently for a few decades, then yeah, we'll have better information in terms of what's actually helpful and what's not. What I know unequivocally will work based on blue zone data and others is like sleep, hydration, nutrition, movement and connection and community with
Mhm.
with people. Like those populations have not had this technology and they're living very long and healthy lives. So like I love to be in this world where it's like, oh, if that's a new technology that I think is valuable, let's integrate it. Right.
Yeah.
I think technology is amazing. I think being able to do this and share this is amazing. Um, But most of these health related technologies require consistent effort over long periods of time. Are you willing and or able to do that? That's what we'll find out. And that's why I think we need to incentivize people because if we can figure out this insurance subsidy, which we're working on, then if you get paid or if you have a lower insurance premium because you do what you're going to do anyway, like
Mhm.
that's going to change a lot of people's behavior. So I think that's where we need to go next is how do we get you motivated to show up even when you don't want to, or to take that shot even when you don't want
Yeah, it's the consistency. I think with
to. Totally.
everything, it's like there's not just whether it's the basics or these like fancier things. I feel like consistency is something that is like you have to kind of stick to it for whichever path, both hopefully, but
Correct.
whichever way you're going, you can't just do something once. It's like you can't go to the gym one time and you're like, oh,
No,
you know,
no, and
set.
yeah, great. Like if that's how the world works, and it's so funny because we know that no one who's seen success in life, like real success in anything, just happened upon it.
Totally. It's
So
very intentional and you work
100%.
at it. Yeah.
And so it's just one of those things where we've created a bad habit in the health world, which is like we're only going to pay attention to it when it's debilitating, and that has to change,
Yeah.
which
100%.
is why we're doing what we're doing.
So I want to talk about supplements. And
Yes.
I say this part knowing that so much of it is, very unique
Hmm.
to the person who it applies to. Like, for example, at Monarch, I get my blood work done and then we've come up with supplement protocols accordingly. But if we're just talking about the basics, are there supplements that you think are universally applicable?
Yeah, that's a great question. Protein, just because I think it's hard for people with our current
Yeah.
diet to get enough protein. Creatine, there's enough data to show male, female, young, old, probably not for peds like kids. We don't get enough creatine, and it helps maintain muscle mass and preserve cognitive function. Vitamin D, we don't get outside enough. Totally understandable. Skin cancer is a huge problem, easily preventable. But the other side of that coin is we're not getting enough vitamin D, and that's controlling sleep wake cycles. That's minimizing inflammation. That's directly impactful on dopamine production in the brain. Like people in Canada get depressed during the winter. That is just lack of vitamin D. That's not a new concept. And I don't think I've ever seen a patient who was not on a vitamin D supplement that had adequate vitamin D when we did
Yeah.
their blood work. We just don't go outside enough.
Yeah.
So those are my big 3: protein, creatine, and vitamin D. Anything else beyond that, I think has a reason or a season.
Mhm.
Um, but we weren't meant to take supplements forever. That wasn't how we were designed. So we really like try to help people be intentional in terms of what are you taking, why are you taking it, does it work? We can measure that now for the most part. And if it's not, like, don't keep taking it. Like, what's the point? Not only does it cost money, but it could also be harming you. Like, what
Yeah.
if there's something in there that's, potentially causing you some sort of distress?
Yeah. Yeah. I completely agree. Okay. So outside of peptides and, just like the basics that we've talked about, what are other longevity things that you personally are really interested in?
Yeah. So, energy medicine, I think, is incredibly interesting. And what I say by that is like, I don't know if we've talked about this,
Mhm.
but like plant medicine, I think, is going to really shift how we think about mental health and the opportunities there to truly help people with anxiety, depression, PTSD. When I say energy medicine, I think, you know, there is there is something to the human condition that has to do with emotion, right? That
Mhm.
has to do with energy. I can sit in a room with you and I can tell immediately you are a good person because you have a vibration. And everyone says that's woo woo, but we all know, like,
Yeah, we know.
you can tell, like, when you walk into a room, you're just like, something doesn't feel right.
Mm.
So there's an inherent, like, component of humanity that's beyond the objective. And that's where I'm super interested right now, not only because, like, personally my journey has led me into this world. Professionally, we've been, taking groups of athletes and veterans out of the country to do, like, deep work, like really helping people heal with these natural compounds and these medicines that indigenous people have been using for thousands of years.
Mhm.
Um, and I'm interested because I see we have thousands of patient visits over the last few years with Monarch, and I have appreciated that, like, when I'm talking to someone, usually first time I'm meeting them or first few times, I can start to tell them, like, all right, like, a lot of these things that are hindering you, so to speak, are basically like mechanisms that you've used to survive for a long period of time, and your body and your nervous system is just like, so like, if we have to do this to survive, otherwise bad things are going to happen.
Mhm.
That's where this world of kind of like the mental, the spiritual, the emotional is extremely interesting to me.
Mhm.
And I wouldn't name names, but like off the record, I've definitely connected a lot. Clearly, we're on the record, but I've definitely connected a lot of patients with practitioners who do this energy work and this spiritual work and this plant medicine work. And I'm telling you, Sif, like, you wouldn't believe the things that are happening when people like actually show up and do this kind of work, and it impacts every aspect of their existence, from pain to how they connect with people, their purpose in life. It's there's there's a ton of opportunity in terms of anxiety, depression, and PTSD issues. Um, I do think that's going to be this next evolution of health, which is like everyone's actually came up with this idea
Mhm.
while I was doing mushrooms.
Mhm.
AI. I don't think it's artificial intelligence. I think it's intelligence. I think we've created technology that's allowed us to access the information that we've already produced and then use it for our benefit. So what happens 10 years from now when we have these systems like doing everything that we used to do manually? I think a lot of people are going to be left sitting with themselves and being like, why am I here? Like,
Mm.
what's my purpose? How are my relationships? Like, what am I contributing to make people around me better?
Mm.
So I do think we're going to get less busy, which is going to force us to focus on some of the things that we've been able to push to the side because of all the different things that we had to do. So I am, and we are positioning ourselves to be able to help people. So when you come into our facility, it's like, hey, yes, we have physical things that we can measure that we need to improve. And also, like, how are you? Like, how are your relationships? Do you have a strong emotional support system? You moved from Canada. I moved 1,000 times before I got out here. I've said this before, like, I don't have that many friends out here. And like at times it can be pretty lonely. Like
Mhm.
that can impact how you feel and your motivation to do many different things. And so that's the area that I'm really, really excited about because I think it's just been something that's been ignored for so long that we have so much untapped potential. And also we've had these tools forever. So it's not like we have to develop new technologies. I think we have to, it's a phrase that I use all the time, is like part of what I think we're doing, my work, Monarch, is returning humans to their authentic blueprint. Like I think we have all the answers
Yeah.
within us. The question is will we ever remember them? And that's where it takes time, whether it's meditation or whatever else you do. So that's a pretty interesting space. And being in LA and working with high quality and, high quality, high performing individuals, the mental health issues, the blocks, the traumas, the things like that are pervasive and they are definitely impactful. So if we have an opportunity to kind of let those things go and help people breathe and release, that's extremely interesting to me.
Well, also, the thing is that even when it comes to physical like, the physical manifestation of things, right? A lot of it is connected to stress.
Totally.
And so I feel like if you are able to focus on the mental health thing and kind of help people there, then automatically the stress reduces, and that also takes away a lot of physical ailments as
Totally.
well.
You become more resilient.
Yeah.
Um, you know, think about a time that the easiest one is like emotional pain. So like a relationship falls apart. Typically people feel pain in their lower back. And like there's a bunch of different things that some people have tried to describe, in the osteopathic world and whatnot, which is like the emotions do have some sort of physical manifestation. Most people don't know
Yeah.
about them. So we assume that it's something that we can comprehend. It's a muscle strain. It's whatever. But there's a lot more to it, and yes, you are correct, like, when we're constantly sympathetically driven and we have no balance and no opportunity to manage the fight and or flight and rest, like, yeah, inevitably, we are going to start to, accumulate physical ailments.
Mhm. Yeah. This has been incredible, Ryan. Tell everyone where they can find you.
So, physically at one of our clubs, because I don't go anywhere else, online, it's Instagram at Dr. _Greene with an E at the end _DO. LinkedIn, you can just search me, Ryan Greene. I'm great responding to email, not great responding to DMs. So, feel free to share my email in the link. Otherwise, come on by if you're in LA. Feel free to drop in.
Yeah,
I'm,
it's the best. Monarch
yeah,
is the best.
yeah, I'm all about, we're not trying to hide what we're doing because at
Yeah.
the end of the day, like if we can make the world around us better, like I'm good. That's
Yeah.
my mission.
And for any West Side LA people, if you are looking for a new place to join
Yeah,
your
Playa
opening.
Vista.
Yeah.
We're opening in June, so we'll be at the runway right next to Whole Foods. So if you're
So
in or around the
exciting.
area, come on by.
Amazing. Thank you for being here.
Thanks, Sif.